Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from Your Overwatch. I'm Eddie the Chump and today we'll be talking about how to escape the rank you currently find yourselves in. In any discipline, it's natural for people to experience what's called a plateau. That's where your upward momentum whilst learning levels out. Now, despite that being a natural occurrence, it can be easy for people to get stuck at whatever level they reach. In the Overwatch context, those are easily identifiable as ranks within the ranking system. If you've been at the same rank for a while, this has probably happened to you, and without getting extraordinarily lucky, you won't simply keep rising doing the same things that got you where you are. First off, a little reality check about how the player base in Overwatch is spread out rank-wise and competitive. The player base is overwhelmingly platinum and below numerically. It's odd, isn't it? That means there's a lot of people stuck in the same place, particularly in gold and platinum. What can you do to escape your rank? Well, let's start with what holds a lot of people firmly in place, and that's a hero pool that covers a worryingly shallow amount of tactical flexibility. This is actually true of me too, believe it or not. My hero pool is basically Ana, Lucio, Zenyatta, McCree, Soldier, and Winston. I bet there's many of you watching that think of yourselves as a support main or a DPS main. In some extreme cases, there's people that dedicate themselves to just one hero. Now, the issue of one tricks extends all the way up to GM actually, but as it applies to most players, it's bad for different reasons than to that context. If your hero pool is tactically shallow, take mine for example, it's all healers, ground-based hit scan, and one off-tank, then there'll be matches that you'll lose that a simple swap could have won. What is definitely true of all ranks is the rarity of decent main tank players, especially Reinhardts. But here's the thing, good tank players don't get stuck, particularly good Reinhardts. The reasons for that are that 1, there's not that many of them, and 2, very few people want to pick a main tank right off the bat. Think back to the last match you played. I'll bet good money that on the hero select screen, you saw 3 DPS picks before a support or main tank. This is one of the reasons ranks are so difficult to escape. Not enough people have enough versatility. I'm part of the problem. I don't have any killer main tank picks in my pocket. You want stuff healed? I'm your guy. You want them dead? Sometimes I'm your guy, but you want a big blue rectangle? You're on your own. At most ranks, games can quite easily become one long endless poke battle of doom. I'll just remind you there's a reason we nicknamed it Triggermora. In reality, the good main tank players rise and rise, leaving all us wannabe Taimus and Jehongs in their wake. First off, a few home truths. If you're a DPS main, and that's all you play, and you can't seem to escape your current rank, then it might be time to think about diversifying your skill set pool if you want to make it out. That's not a dig. I include myself in that to some extent. Truly good DPS players who can carry mechanically have already risen up the ranks. Now, that's not to say there aren't players in Diamond, for example, who are good mechanically. There certainly are. Perhaps you're a Genji main who is genuinely skilled, but who doesn't switch quick enough when being countered, or who doesn't even realize when that's happening. This is where gold medals aren't your friends. They can delude you, preventing you from looking at a picture that you don't really want to see. The scoreline doesn't care about your ego. Losing SR with 3 gold medals is still losing SR. It doesn't follow then to think about your rank and say, well, I'm actually good, it's everyone else's fault. I've had to do this. I've had to look at my own game. I'm not saying anything to you guys that I haven't said to myself, not in a mirror like a crazy person, but certainly in my more contemplative moments after a string of losses. But thankfully nobody has to get stuck where they are. Just like any other discipline, all it takes is the broadening of one's learning. Learn a main tank or other core role. Now, this first piece of advice is the most logically straightforward. If, like me, your hero and skill set pools are a little shallow, learning a main tank, especially Rein, to a serviceable level will give you a much better chance of escaping your current rank. The reasons for this I've already touched on, but to be clear, a good Rein is rare. Nobody really wants to play him, comparatively speaking anyway. If you can do that role and do it well, your team has a fighting chance. Good tank play is sparse at all ranks actually. If you can build up a main tank in your hero pool, you could take advantage of that fact. A lot of the time we as a community get caught up with all the different styles of playing, while the most basic and fundamental elements such as proper grouping and actually fighting as a team are just assumed but rarely followed. I've played Masters a lot. Liam plays at GM all the time. It still happens there. If you can get past serviceable and into actually being good, you'll very likely transcend whatever plateau you currently find yourself in. Guess what I'm going to be doing over the next month? Learning Rein, that's what. A lot of players you'll play with won't even directly notice the benefit of having a Rein that is playing well. They'll just know the game feels easier. It's true that a Rein isn't always the right answer theoretically, but a lot of players don't actually know how to play without one. Playing Rein well might not be the best comp for their enemy's comp, but it might be the best option for your team as they're more familiar with it. It's not just Rein though, it's any core role. Say it's King of the Hill and your team needs a Lucio, but you're a Genji main and Genji is already taken. Winning more games is beneath nobody. If you want to win more and get the rewards of doing so, then do what's required. For a lot of players at Diamond and below, a part of that is letting go of things we think we know and doing the less glamorous but essential jobs. Improving your mentality. One of the things you need to do is analyze your own psychology. Are you playing for fun, to play the heroes you want to play, or are you playing to win? A lot of the Overwatch community invests in in and identifies with particular heroes because they like how it makes them feel. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's one of the reasons the game is so popular, and I certainly don't mean to be scoffing at anyone's fun. But escaping a rank you're stuck in requires you to leave your comfort zone. That's what a plateau is. It's a comfort zone almost by definition. That applies to not just your hero selection, but also how you understand the game. There's a common saying, a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. This applies to Overwatch in many ways, but the prime amongst them is when people pick up parts of information that sound like a simple rule, but can potentially mislead themselves with. A big one in the last meta was triple tank. Everyone thought they knew what triple tank was, just pick 3 tanks, right? Well, no actually. Triple tank was more like the Roadhog comp. If you didn't have a Hog and a Rhine and base your team's play off that free and unnerved hook value from behind a Rhine shield, then you weren't really grasping why it was so good. Likewise, I'm sure a lot of people know the term dive comp, but don't understand how vital it is to actually dive with it. If your team picks a dive comp and then Winston just goes to a choke and places his bubble there like a worse Rhine shield, then none of the picks you made will matter. Expanding your hero pool will help you read a game in a way that's much deeper than from just one role's perspective. As a DPS, you might think you're losing a game for reason X, but in reality it was problem Y, which only the main tank can see clearly. Basic calls win games. Once your hero pool deepens and your understanding of the game improves, you'll be in the position where you'll be able to make simple calls to correct a wavering team going astray. If you are playing Rhine and your team are all off on mad flanks getting into separate 1v1s, you can make the simple call for them to actually utilize your shielding. Hey guys, there's a big blue rectangle here, use it. Other calls like regrouping properly, when not to waste ults, etc. are also just as useful. Arguments in games at all ranks are often caused by irrelevant details. If the basics aren't met first, it doesn't matter what your hero picks are. If someone on your team gets picked immediately in a fight, there's no meta choice decision that can work you out of that disadvantage. Many players grapple with advanced terminology of the game, yet the core basics get neglected, making any advanced strategy superfluous. Learn when being fundamentally sound doesn't work and carry instead. Now that I've spent most of the video talking about sound, fundamental but unfashionable ways of winning more games, I'm going to present another option. Realizing when doing the right thing will get the wrong result. Say you've developed your pocket Rhine, it's Volskaya or Hanamura, and your team are absolutely resisting any initiation moves you make. You out-footsie their Rhine, pin him, and your team just wave at you from the choke. As you die over and over, you can hear them say, "Send us a postcard!" Sometimes doing the right thing will get you nowhere, and you simply can't occupy enough core roles. You can't simultaneously play Rhine, hit a pin, and play Lucio to speed your team into follow-up. It's at moments like these when you have to try and understand the win condition. If your team wants to do nothing but poke, then what can you do to win that poke? On any attacking phase of 2CP, for example, 1 or 2 Widow picks early can win a fight. If people aren't doing the fundamentals, then try to do something creative. I want to make one thing absolutely clear. This is the option of last resort. It's not an excuse to hit one pin, die, and then try to meme with Hanzo every time. No, it's trying to teach the principle of understanding the match you're actually in, not the game as an abstract concept with clear rules of proper team comp and strategy. We all know that matchmaking can be a complete farce. A match can seem like an utter lost cause. Well, your only option in the face of that is to at least attempt to make some plays. It doesn't have to be picking Widow, it could be picking a third support, or taking a Mei on attack to use her walls to stop an enemy Mei from splitting your team. Does your team keep walking into Symmetra turrets and feeding her ult value? Pick Pharah and bypass that value. Figure out what is beating you, apply its counter, and at least attempt to force them to change. Is their Genji just wrecking your backline and carrying every team fight, but you already have 2 tanks? Who cares? Pick Winston and make their carry swap. Are they loading their lineup with HP and their Ana is pretty good? Or pick a third DPS, preferably something that can split them, and get at the Ana holding everything up. Overwatch is hard. There's many subtle interactions that happen in every match that go largely unnoticed by the majority of players. Sometimes simple switches will make the difference between getting absolutely embarrassed and turning that momentum on its head. The game really is that brutal. So in conclusion then, how does one escape from the rank they're stuck in? Well, number 1 is plug any gaps in your game, especially if those gaps line up with a particular role that is low in pick rate but high in order of importance, like a main tank. Number 2 is develop your reading of a game to the point where you can take that strengthened hero pool and apply the right pressure in the right place as a game is unfolding. Broaden your horizons. If you're stuck, think on this. It's probably because you keep doing the same things over and over and expect different results. If you like the video, please don't forget to leave a rating. If you never want to miss one of our videos again, click the bell icon next to the subscribe button on our channel to join the notification squad. You'll be in good company. Please check out our Discord, where you can join one of the largest Discord communities for Overwatch out there. If you want to see us tilt live for your enjoyment, please check out our Twitch channel, which will be linked in the description. Also, finally, please follow the Your Overwatch Twitters, where you can find updates about new videos and streams. I've been Eddie the Chump, and until next time.